Alrighty, Kelvin. So as you could probably tell, I hit the wrong button. Instead of hitting pause, I hit stop. So you get two videos this week. So my apologies for that. First of all, partner, let's go over the easy stuff. Okay, you look incredible right now, and you're going to get leaner. What we've basically just done is we've just given you a good old-fashioned diet break, right? A lot of times, peak weeks propel us to more fat loss after, that are kind of to come in weeks after, okay? So at least for the indefinite future, because what we ended up basically doing in addition, to the competition, is we ended up giving you essentially 3 high days, right? And so we're going to go through a nice stretch of low days here. Basically until whenever, okay? If I was to guess, I would say we're going to give you a couple of high days after next week's check-in. But for right now, partner, just all low days. Just keep hitting low days until your next check-in, okay? Now, on the training front, it looks like you're right in the middle of this kind of second introductory week, right? If I recall correctly, the red indicates kind of what you plan to get done and haven't done yet, okay? But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to go another week of the hypertrophy rep targets, but we're going to go to, essentially 4 sets, okay? Or, typically we don't really give you a set quota per se. Usually we just kind of increase those sets as we're going through the week. So, I'll think about it and I'll put the instructions in here for you. But essentially, in a nutshell, partner, we're going to get a couple weeks of hypertrophy here this week and next week, while you're still kind of, I guess, running off of those calories from last weekend, right? All those calories that we gave you for the show. But without deloading, we're going to probably just transition from the hypertrophy rep targets right into the strength rep targets, okay? So finish this week up. Probably next week, I'm just going to say, okay, let's just do 4 sets of everything to the hypertrophy rep targets. Then we're going to transition right to the strength rep targets, 4 sets, okay? And I'll put all the instructions in there for you. And then at that point, we might run another week of strength rep targets, okay? But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. At least for right now, we know that we're going to finish this microcycle. The next microcycle, you're going to do 4 sets to the hypertrophy rep targets. Then we're going to transition right to strength, where you're going to do 4 sets to the strength rep targets, right? And I've got I've already got the log kind of color coded, so you know when to go to the strength rep targets. But yeah, I want to kind of bring that volume down as you're going longer and longer and longer with possible low days adding up. All right. So that's going to be the coaching. And so finally, I just want to kind of close coaching you up on the summary of the last show, and kind of, I guess, give you some positive feedback as far as your comparison to other competitors, right? And just setting aside judging criteria, and all that stuff that organization did. Because, I mean, in bodybuilding, there's supposed to be 3 criteria, and you know this. There's muscle size, conditioning, and symmetry, right? And so, you want to have a balance of those 3 things. If one person's got tremendous size, but they're not conditioned, in my mind, the other 2 trump that one, right? The conditioning and the symmetry. Symmetry is kind of the hardest one to kind of judge, because if you've got a conditioner that is super symmetrical and decent with conditioning, in my mind, that's a person that's going to beat out a person that's not very symmetrical and is super, super lean, okay? Or at least that's what I think that I've seen judges kind of go more toward in the past years. I know in a long time ago, 10 years ago, I would always beat bodybuilders that were more symmetrical than me because they just could not get as shredded as I did. But at least right now, it seems like things have kind of gone 180 degrees. And it's like, if you're pretty darn lean, but you're symmetrical, you're going to just about beat everybody. But here's kind of the thing that I wanted to comment on. What you have to kind of think about with that other competitor, right? First of all, nothing trumps good old-fashioned time in the gym. I mean, he said he was 50 years old, Kelvin. Maybe that guy's been training for like 35 years. And that is going to be like, that's optimal right there. That's as optimal as you can get. And that almost kind of overrides all of the evidence base that we, kind of go through right now. Imagine if that guy would have been training wisely 20 years ago, when he started training. So that's one thing, is nothing trumps that. And then also genetics. I mean, folks that have that much time in the gym, and then on top of it, they have good muscle size, good symmetry, etc. They can wing it. They can get away with winging it, And I mean, I've competed against Kyoshi Moody. I don't know if you know who he is, but he won the Natural Olympia with the INBA like 5 times. And that guy could not screw anything up because his body was just perfect for bodybuilding. But that's one thing I wanted to pass along to is, as hard as you've worked for the last, 8 months for your prep, and then the last, 5 or 6 years now that we've been working together, that's all admirable, But that doesn't necessarily override the work that competitor put in for the last 20, 25, who knows, 30 years maybe. That guy's been working hard in the gym, right? So it's not equal, but he's put in a lot of work as well, just not the kind of work that you have. He's put a lot of work in the gym, but probably didn't put a lot of time into tracking macros and to making sure that his training and cardio was on point, and his posing too. Because you got to admit, Kelvin, your posing is pristine. It's really good. And you spent a lot of hard work on that, and it showed on the bodybuilding stage, right? So just kind of wanting to make you aware of, a different version of hard work that we just really can't overlook, right? But partner, ultimately, like you said, a trophy's a trophy. It's nice to have this sword hanging up on the wall. But at the same time, the Kelvin that we are at now, it beats all the other previous versions of Kelvin. And on top of that, the journey has been so much better, right? So much better. And you've withstood some hardship and still managed to keep on track. And that's going to help you to grow as a person. That's going to be stuff that you can pass on to your son, okay? So I hope that helps a little bit, buddy. But yeah, let's think about this final show on September 28th. Maybe we just go, yeah, we're not going to do that. Let's focus on this WNBF show. Let's really get our ducks in a row and make sure that we're communicating good and we're peaking good for that show. And then wherever you place is wherever you place. At that point, it's kind of like you've already won. And if you get a trophy, well, that's kind of like we got our cake, but we got to put some icing on it too. Okay? All right, Kelvin, if you have any questions, let me know. In summary, let me wrap it up here. Stay on your low days, okay, until basically the next check-in. Cardio's the same. Finish this microcycle of training. Go to the next microcycle of training, which is in blue font, higher rep targets, 4 sets. Then the following week, we're going to go right down to the strength rep targets, but still 4 sets, okay? And then you auto-regulate the loads accordingly. Hey, try as best you can to look at your records and kind of keep things as close as you can, but obviously within reason. You're probably, the 180, 190, 83 kilo Kelvin is kind of a thing of the past. And so, yeah, maybe the squats for 140, kilos is not very doable for strength right now. So you just try to get as much as you can while still hitting the rep targets, okay? All right, buddy. Sorry, long video. I'll leave it there. Bye-bye now.